I have actually two topics that I wanted to chew with you in the group with. The first one is about that vibrational alignment. It's about I have a desire, and I thought I had achieved a vibrational match with it, and it ended up not being manifested in my reality.
Yet?
But it brought up the question, yet. But it brought up the question of sometimes something is maybe not meant for me. I know
There's not any of that. There's not any of that. In other words, you're the creator.
Yes.
And when you have a desire and you align with it, the universe will yield it to you. There's no arbitrator that is saying this is not a good choice for you.
I guess what I'm wanting also to get at is, like, you've talked about Abraham being a group of consciousness, and it's a stream. I mean, it's a different energy all the time. Well, sometimes I feel like that's what I am, or we all are, is we're not like this lump of soul or an energy.
Good.
But I feel like I have different streams joining me at different times.
Yes, and so it depends upon what has your attention and what active vibrations are currently within you. In other words, whatever it is that you are giving your attention to, you find vibrational harmony with, and the universe yields it from all directions. It can come to you from other drivers in traffic, to people that rendezvous with you in restaurants, to relationships, to non-physical communication. Everything that comes to you comes in response to whatever the mix of vibrations you're holding in your powerful now. That's why the words, your point of power is right here and now, is so significant, because my mood or attitude matters so very much. A nice way of looking at this is, imagine a big wheel. Imagine it extending to the boundaries of the universe, or to the boundaries of your physical world anyway. And out there on the perimeter of this wheel are every thought that's ever been thought. All the thoughts are there. And at the hub of the wheel are all of the possible feelings. When you choose a thought and then experience the corresponding feeling, anytime you choose a thought, you experience the corresponding feeling. So if you have something happening in your life that gets you fixated on this particular thought out here, and as it's really in your face and dominant, you maintain that vibration for quite a long time. Now, the feeling response is going to be a match to that thought. So now here in the center of your wheel, you have generated a condition of vibration. And now, law of attraction reaches out to the perimeter of that wheel, which goes to the boundaries of the universe, and brings to you things that match that feeling that you have achieved. Interesting, isn't it? So now...
So the feeling isn't me, though. It's just a vibrational match. What is me is...
It might be you. That's why we were saying don't leave home without it.
Yeah. Really.
What is you is a consciousness of well-being and upliftment that optimistically and eagerly anticipates. That is the best expression of what is you. But if your friend told you about this terrible injustice, and you spent the afternoon talking about that terrible injustice with your friend, longer than 17 seconds, much longer than 17 seconds, then that vibration that really is not you becomes your dominant feeling place, which means now you have access to other things on the wheel that are a vibrational match to that, whether you want them or not. And that would become you, that for the time of you maintaining that vibration.
It's like an energy that orbits you then. You're like a planet or a sun, and then you have things that are...
Whatever you choose and you do to hold as your mood or attitude becomes your center point, and every corresponding thought or experience or relationship comes in response to whatever that mood or attitude is that you've generated. And that's why, as we talk about deliberate creation, with all of that myriad of thoughts that are possible, and physical humans attempt to sort the thoughts out and put them into good thoughts and bad thoughts, you just get lost in the enormity of it all. But when you say, nothing's more important than that I feel good, and you start deliberately looking for things that cause you to feel good so that you develop more patterns of feeling good, now you've simplified your life dramatically, because all that other stuff every now and again Esther will turn on the television and see some tragedy that's happened, and for just a brief moment she will feel a particle of vulnerability relative to the subject, and then she remembers that's not who we are. That could not happen to us. We are different at the hub than that is, and so that could not come to us. And that's what we're talking about. If you were purely who you are, you would be this innocent, meaning unchallenged, unviolated, undisturbed, inexperienced, unpracticed energy. But you did not come forth to do nothing. You came forth to guide consciousness. You came forth to evaluate and conclude. And once you come to a conclusion of desire, then your work is to achieve vibrational harmony with whatever that desire is. And when you do, the universe has to yield it to you. That's why we said there are hundreds, if not thousands, of probable solutions or remedies to what you are looking for, provided at the core you are a match to them.
Yeah.
So this expanse of consciousness, when you work to feel the fullness of who you are, at this hub, which is your point of attraction, is always adventure and stability. It's always eagerness and well-being. In other words, your inner being knows that all is well, and so eagerly explores. That's the attitude that you're wanting to achieve. All is well with me, and I can't wait to discover something more. You know that feeling of wanting adventure but being afraid? That's not who your inner being is. In other words, that feeling of wanting to get out there but being afraid, that is not purely who you are. Who you really are is wanting to get out there and wanting to feel exhilarated and excited about getting out there.
I'm interested in seeing more clearly what conditioning I have going on that's in the way of my attracting my mate into my life.
Good. Perfectly stated question. Conditioning meaning beliefs and habits of thought that I've picked up along my physical trail.
Right.
Well, talk to us a little bit, and let's see if we can get to the bottom of this.
Well, in the last year I've been introduced to your tapes, and that has helped me to focus more of my intent on drawing into my experience what I want. However, what I've drawn into my experience is what I don't want. I mean, I've actually drawn a person into my life who is far away from the qualities that I'm looking for to interact with.
Has this experience helped you to become more specific about what you are wanting?
Yes.
Have you noticed that when you are having an experience that you don't want, clarity about what is wanted comes forth in a stronger way? And even though you knew that before you even had the experience, it wasn't an active, conscious part of your knowing. And something about having the experience made you very, very clear about it, and then shot forth a rocket of greater clarity. Can you find a way of saying, even though this relationship is really, really, really what I do not want, it certainly has been beneficial in helping me to identify what it is that I do want?
Yes, I can agree to that. I feel that what's most prominent for me right now is this yearning, this desire to have the person in my life that I want.
Describe that person.
A gentleman of integrity, kind, generous, willing to communicate, enthusiastic, someone who is spiritually aware of who he is, financially stable.
Now, as you make these statements, it's easy for you to feel that you're not a vibrational match to some of these things. Some of them you are. You can feel, it's easy to feel. When you say someone who is financially stable, you even laughed there a little bit. So now your work is to take each little piece of that at different points in time. We'll play with it here together. And try to describe it until you actually feel yourself feeling it. Right now the words sound good and there is some emotion around them, but you're wanting to actually feel it sort of click into place. It's like you went to the perimeter of the wheel and you said this and this and this and this and this, and now we want to bring it all to the center of the wheel where you can really feel those things. Mm-hmm. So talk to us about what it is like to interact on a really personal, intimate basis with someone who has extraordinary integrity, what does that mean and what would it feel like?
Well, there's a component of, for me, I could be open and honest with that person. I can feel that what I share with him is held in, I want to use the word integrity. And through that sharing, I gain more insight into myself and into the relationship.
Well, you know, one of the things that happens, and it does not always need to happen, but we certainly see it in your culture, in your society. Women often want to share in that way, and men usually do not. Now, it is possible to find someone who wants to. What you are describing there sometimes gets really messy. Men often would say, if they could choose their ideal mate, I just want a happy one. I just want someone who doesn't need to make a big deal out of everything. I really don't want to have to scrutinize everything that happens and get to the heart of it in this truthful, honest, integrity thing, you see. And there's a part of you that still wants to stir all that stuff up. And so what's happening is, it's not that you can't find somebody that is a match to that, it's that you have conflict within your desires, because on the one hand, you want to be connected, you want to be joyful, you want to be an uplifter, you want to be fun to be with, you want to be easy to be with, you want to see the best in people, you want to find a mate that you can just adore. But there's a part of you that believes that you just got to dig in to all that nitty-gritty stuff, and those two intentions are conflicting within you. Because you can't have it both ways. You can't be free and easy and lighthearted and happy and good to be with and needing to dig up all that honest stuff too.
I wasn't aware of that.
But you can feel it, can't you, as we chew about it, you see. And so you should hear the men that are out there that are looking for you. They're saying, oh, I want to find this beautiful, happy, uplifting, easy to be with. Easy to be with. If there is one verbiage that we could articulate that would speak most closely the desire that most men hold in wanting relationships with most women, it is easy to be with. Someone who makes me feel good to be with them. Not someone who's trying to reform me, or trying to train me, or trying to get me to be honest, or trying to get me to be willing to be more intimate or speak things. That's why they don't want to be with women, is because women have that sort of needy, messy vibration often.
How about someone who just who whatever they feel in terms of being with me can demonstrate that in some kind of way?
Well, wouldn't it be easier to just achieve a vibration of being adored? In other words, that's what you want. You want someone to adore you. You just want someone to adore you. But until you adore you, you can't attract somebody to adore you. See, what happens is, often you don't feel very loved or very lovable. And so from that basis you say, I need somebody to adore me. I need somebody to honor me. But they can't get to you because you don't feel that way. Law of attraction can't bring you together. And so you reach out in some other way, everybody's doing it, and you drag some poor fool home who in a weak moment was attracted to you because of a lot of other things, and then you need him to adore you, but he can't because it's not at your core. And then you say, oh, I've done it again, I've got another one. And we say, another one that matches the way you feel about you.
So my work is to adore myself.
To adore yourself and to adore the other. In other words, when we say, begin playing the game of taking your inner being everywhere you go, it's a very fun game to stop often and say, well, how would my inner being respond to this? What would my inner being say here? Would my inner being yell? Or would my inner being smile? Would my inner being criticize, or would my inner being compliment? You can tell, even from the short time that you've been playing with us here, you know what source energy would do. It is a loving, yielding, uplifting energy, you see. And so, as you start playing with that, not just in relationship to relationships, but as you play with it relative to everything that you're about, stop often and say, what does my inner being think or feel about this?